Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Drew Rubin. I am so honored to be here with ChiraSecure. I have had their malpractice insurance since I graduated in 1989, and I absolutely appreciate all the great things that they do for our profession. So thank you, ChiraSecure and Dr. Stu Hoffman. Today, we're back with Disruptive Pediatrics for our first of the new year. I hope 2023 has been great for you. And today, I'm going to talk about Dr. Larry Webster, my mentor, my hero. Um, let's go to the slides. And this man was really responsible for the creation of the International Chiropractic Pediatric Association. They call him the grandfather of chiropractic pediatrics. He really began the whole thing, and I was so blessed and honored to have him as a teacher. I took his class in 1989, his pediatric class, and now, as fortune would have it, I am teaching his class at Life University. So I've been teaching that class since 2001, the same class that he taught me. So I am flattered and honored and humbled to be in Dr. Webster's footsteps. One of the things that Webster was very famous for in saying, uh, he was really probably one of the first chiropractors to start talking about using less force, especially with children. He used to say minimum force for maximum results, to try to get everybody to understand that the concept of an adjustment is to use that less force is now making greater impact because our body's innate intelligence knows what to do with even the most subtle forces. So I absolutely appreciate him teaching that because it was not something I was exposed to before his teaching. Another thing he said all the time was adjusting kids is not like adjusting little adults. You don't take a Gonstead adjustment and just go like this and make it smaller. That's not really what pediatric chiropractic is. It's a completely different thing. It's actually looking at the pediatric spine and thinking about the different nuances to the spine. There are disc plane lines. There are joints of Luschka that aren't there when they're little munchkins. The fact that when they're little babies and newborns, they don't have secondary curves yet in their cervicals and lumbars. So these are the things that we really need to take into consideration when we're doing adjustments, according to Dr. Webster, to make it the best possible adjustment so that it's not just taking an adult adjustment and making it smaller, and it's using minimal forces to create maximum results. So what I'm going to teach you guys today is some of his famous techniques that he taught us. And there's three light touch techniques that he taught us back in 1989 that I want to share with you guys. And those three light touch techniques are number one, sustained contact, which I probably use for like 90% of our infant adjusting under age 2. Number two is what he used to call vibratory contact. And three, which is really kind of cool and something that I've been actually experimenting a lot more with lately, is what he called the intent adjustment or intentional adjustment, where you're using even a lot less force than your traditional sustained contact. We'll get to that in a second. So here's just an example of adjusting with minimum force with a newborn. Here I am checking this little newborn. And another thing he taught us is that, which I think was a very big change from traditional chiropractic approaches, is that you don't have to adjust a child on a bench. I used to, when I first got into chiropractic, I thought that's the only way you could do it. You take the baby, you put him on the bench, put him face down, you put him face up, and that's just how it's done. But he, in 1989, said, no, you adjust the child where they want to get adjusted. So if they want to get adjusted in mommy and daddy's arms, if they want to get adjusted on the bench, they want to get adjusted on the floor, they want to get adjusted on a pregnancy pillow, they want to get adjusted in their car seat, wherever it is that they want to get adjusted, that's where you're going to adjust them. And that was a brilliant thought process. So here I am, like doing some motion palpation of the lower back, and looks like I'm working, I believe in this particular picture, I'm working on the SI joints. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of motion palpating to see what SI joint is moving and not moving, and that's how we're deciding which adjustment we're going to do. Here I'm checking the thoracics. Once again, not face down, in this kind of hugging position, checking the thoracic. And then here I'm doing a cervical adjustment. I'm actually doing a fingertip sustained contact adjustment. In this particular adjustment, you can use either your middle finger or your pinky based upon the size of your fingers. Some people prefer using the middle, some their pinky if you have larger hands, or some people just like the direction that the pinky does versus the middle finger. But those two fingers actually have the best line of drive for the lateral to medial line of drive that we want to use for, let's say, as an example for an atlas adjustment. So this is an example of this kind of adjustment. And what we're doing with the sustained contact is we're using very, very gentle force to try to take that atlas from lateral to medial. And so we're not pushing very hard. We're just trying to put enough pressure in there. Dr. Webster used to say enough pressure to, like, well, if you're holding a dime or a coin of some sort, if you guys even know what coins are anymore, holding a coin on their atlas and pushing it this way, how much force would you have to? Not very much force, 5 newtons, 7 newtons, maybe 10 newtons to hold that. So that's how much force you're using. So what you're doing with the sustained contact adjustment is you're holding for 5 or 10 seconds. Gentle force. The baby shouldn't be moving and pushing like this. If they are, it's probably too forceful or maybe not in the exact right spot. And then recheck their legs. So you're going to do a leg check, tap their atlas. Let me go back for a second. You're going to do a leg check. Find, let's say, a short left leg. Tap their atlas. If that balances the legs, now you're going to do sustained contact for 5 or 10 seconds, and then you're going to recheck the legs. That was what he was teaching us. Now, the vibratory contact is quite interesting because rather than using a sustained contact adjustment, he said for sometimes when sustained contact isn't working, you got to do something a little bit different. So what he would say is you would actually take your fingers and go like this, kind of vibrate them like this. So it's not just holding, it's a sustained hold with a vibrational kind of component, almost like if you're familiar with the arthro-stim kind of thing, almost like your finger was an arthro-stim, but obviously you can't vibrate as fast as one of those tools. So you're going to vibrate kind of like this to see if you can kind of get that. Sometimes these areas are kind of stuck in a baby, especially if they've had a tough birth trauma, C-section, was stuck in the birth canal for a long time. You might have to do a little bit extra work, and that's where the vibratory contact comes in. And then this is the cool new thing that new for me and how much I'm using it. When he first talked about the intent adjustment, I was like, as time has gone on and after 30-something years in practice, I'm realizing this intent adjustment is actually quite effective because what you're doing is in a normal sustained contact adjustment, you're actually pushing, right? You're pushing lateral to medial with a force to go from, let's say you have a right atlas, you want to get it into the left, right? So you're pushing it that way. With an intent adjustment, you're almost doing no force at all. You're doing enough force to put your fingertips, let's say, example, on atlas, maybe for 1 or 2 newtons, just enough for you to put your finger there. And then the force is sort of like this intent. Your intent is to go from lateral to medial. So what Webster was describing way back then was with a sustained contact adjustment, you're saying to the spine, to the C atlas, let's say, you're saying, you move here, right? I'm telling you where to go. You move here. And with the intent adjustment, it's sort of like a suggestion. Like, hey, buddy, would you think about maybe that direction as a good direction for you? He said back then that those adjustments were really, really good for kids who are having all kinds of challenges, who are, really just the sympathetically stuck babies who are crying a lot and a lot of colic and reflux. He says sometimes that's a perfect adjustment for them because they just can't take that much force. Here's the interesting thing, and what I want to really share with you guys is in the last several years, I've actually started using this with my neurodivergent population, with the kids on the spectrum, the kids with ADHD. I'm actually starting their adjustment protocol with what we would call the intent-based adjustment. So sustained contact with only 1 or 2 newtons, just to introduce them. It's like saying, hello, this is your atlas. You might want to move it that way if you're okay with it. Because what we see with these special needs neurodivergent kids is a lot of them, their subluxations have like they dig themselves in, so they don't respond as well. So even with a regular sustained contact adjustment, sometimes it might be too much for them. So what we do is we start with the intent adjustment. As they start seeing, we see improvements with re-exams, then we start doing sustained contact. And then after the next re-exam, we'll now add a more osteocyte-based adjustment. I like using instrument like Activator, or you can use, Gonstead, Diversified, Full Spine, etc. But this is the level that we're using these adjustments on, which I now look back. When I first learned it, I think it was over my head when I first learned it back in 1989 as a almost soon-to-be graduate. Now I truly understand what the purpose is in the 3 levels of these adjustments. The sustained contact for most of the kids, vibratory for some of those kids who are having that the sustained contact just isn't working enough, and the intent adjustment for those kids who are really having a hard time, very sympathetically stuck, and for the neurodivergent children that you'll see in your practice. The cool thing about it, and the thing I really enjoyed that Webster told us, is all three of them are the same setup. It's just a different application of the thrust, right? So you have a 5 or 10 Newton thrust. You have the vibratory thrust, which is like maybe 6, 7, 8 Newtons, on and off, and then you have the 1 or 2 Newton intent adjustment. So it's really the same exact setup. It's just how you're applying it. Also, the cool thing that Webster said is you can apply this to any bone. I'm talking about the Atlas today since it is a fave with kids, but you can use this with any sacrums, pelvis, thoracics, lumbars, lower cervicals, anything you can apply this to. Another thing I like talking about too that Webster was very fond about is the Webster infantococcal headpiece. I love using this especially with kids who have chronic ear infections. The little ones who are coming in with chronic ear infections, the ones who are like 10, 11, 12 months old, 2 years old, etc. And they've had ear infection, ear infection, ear infection. Their mom's saying we need to have tubes. This is what I usually jump to. I often will start with the sustained contact adjustments, but if that does not produce the results I'm looking for, I will jump up to using the infantococcal headpiece. I like using it in this manner, holding it in my hands and thrusting. I think that's my favorite way to do it. I know Webster really loved wearing it. A lot of you guys might know or have seen Webster, and I showed you a picture of that early on, Webster wearing the infantococcal headpiece and then kind of having either holding the baby in their lap or having the mom or dad hold the baby and then you just clicking around the baby. That's another great, great, great tool. We don't have enough time to go into that today, but I did want to introduce you. That's another one of Webster's amazing tools, especially for the cervical kind of region. Important little caveats for this. We recommend that the drop mechanism should be used when the baby is kind of essentially sitting itself up and supporting itself. So closer to a year old. We don't do this on newborns. We don't do this like little itty bitty munchkins who have floppy heads. We want to use this on kids who have full head control. So you're talking closer to a year old when you're actually using the drop mechanism of the infantococcal headpiece. And this is a fun thing. I never forget, Webster said this to us in class. And once again, as a senior intern at Life University back in 1989, I just could not figure out what he was talking about, but I found out that this was true. He called it the sleeping baby adjustment. He said, if you got a baby, you don't want to wake them up. If they, like, some kids just are kind of cranky when they wake up from a nap, just like some adults are. So if you got a kid who's going to be really, really cranky when they wake up, and that mom happens to bring them in a car seat, which is not my favorite, but if it happens to happen, which once in a while it does, he would say, don't wake them up. Adjust them where they are. And even if they're not in a car seat, even mom's holding them, you don't have to wake them up. And this is what he used to say, you have arrived when you can adjust a sleeping baby and they stay asleep. So here's an example of a sleeping baby adjustment. They came in a car seat. I checked the cervicals. I checked the sacrum. I did some very gentle adjustments. Obviously, we're unbuckling the car seat, to do this. So the kid isn't still strapped in. But we're doing these very gentle adjustments like this, and the baby stayed asleep, right? And this was just one of those examples of like Webster was right. He said, you've arrived when the sleeping baby can stay asleep, and you've arrived as a great pediatric chiropractor when your hands are that subtle and your touch is that subtle kind of thing. So just wanted to give you some heads up. I love the ChiroSecure, and I love the platform that they are giving so many different pediatric chiropractors to talk about. Dr. Berger and Dr. Qualke. It's just great, great, great information that I so appreciate ChiroSecure. But I also love the ICPA. ICPA has been my home because of Webster founded it. I joined when he officially started in 1993. I am speaking for them. I've been speaking now for the last 10 years. I do 2 different seminars for them, one live and live virtual called Enhancing Pediatric Neuroplasticity, which is one of the required certificate classes, and a few other electives I do as well. So I'd love to see you at that. There's the QR code to click into. I also been working with Dr. Stephen Porges, who wrote the polyvagal theory. I have created something called the Polyvagal Informed Pediatric Chiropractic Seminar with Dr. Porges. He and I talking together about this. It was filmed last year, and now you can get it the recorded version if you want to check this out here. Once again, the QR code. And one of my favorite things I do every single day, including today, I posted my 498th podcast. It's called Chirocast, 498 episodes. So there's the QR code if you want to check it out. It's all chiropractic all the time. 498 episodes of how much I love chiropractic, and how, if you want to hear about philosophy or science or the art of chiropractic, every episode is a different kind of take on things. So I'd love to have you listen to that. We've got to protect our future. That's why we're at ChiroSecure, and why I've been, a member of theirs since I graduated in '89. And we got to just more kids. Really, just go out there, just more kids. I hope that showing you today some of Webster's protocols may inspire you. If you want more information, I'd love to hear about it. You can always kind of catch me again. You can get me through email or through ChiroSecure. I would love to hear your feedback on this. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys next time.
Today's pediatric show, Look to the Children, was brought to you by ChiroSecure.